1, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this week's Push Start podcast. And it's not really a podcast, but it is kind of a podcast. We'll keep calling it that. It's a hangout, a weekly hangout. And thank you everybody for being here as we work through some technical issues. As Holly mentioned in chat, my monitor was having some ouchies, but it's all settled now. And I'm glad it was, because honestly, that would have given me a massive headache for a long time. But I am joined by the ever gracious That Blue Number. Thank you for hanging out with me this week.
Yo.
This week and every week. Mostly.
And every week.
Right.
Going forward. Which I'm super excited about.
Hi, everybody. Yeah. Yes. Go.
We tried out, well, I just figured we tried out Wildgate this week.
We did. We
Which-
could talk about the multiple games that we've tried out in the last week.
Hell yeah. We'll
We did 3 games.
We did 3.
That I can think of.
So, I mean, I'll stick with Wildgate was one that I was excited about.
He was very excited about it.
Yeah, a lot of people wrote it off because it looked like Concord, and that certainly didn't help it. But I will say Wildgate, it just looked like a really fun time. However, it has a lot of issues. Mainly that when playing it, I really didn't feel like it had the longevity. It didn't have the legs to go for a big lifespan. And the part of the problem with Wildgate was that you needed to have a full party of 4 people. Otherwise, you can't match with randoms who are not going to be on microphone for that type of game. If they're not on microphone, you're not going to have a good time. There is an AI mode, but as we experience, the AI doesn't take it easy on you if you're less than 4 people either.
Nope.
So
Nope. There's no scale.
There's no scaling. So it was just sort of brutal, and while I think it's a fantastic concept, I didn't see that. And then you had an issue with it that I didn't even think of because I was distracted with some other stuff going on. But you had an issue with it that when I slept on it, I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of a big problem. That kind of defeats the purpose.
Defeats the purpose of the game. So multiplayer games, right? Like most successful ones, or any of them, have a game loop, right? So it depends on, do you like this type of game loop? I feel like this was an extraction shooter. And it had, like, I actually really like the world. And there's an objective that you are on a spaceship, you load into this area, and there's a wild gate, which is like your exit point, right? And you have to scan the way it's supposed to work is that you have to scan the wild gate, and then there's all these things that you have to do to keep your ship functioning, and things that you're supposed to collect for your ship to keep it functioning. There's also cool loot that you can get to help with battle, to help with just yourself, to help the ship, all kinds of stuff. And then there's like abandoned ships or ships with semi-cheesy aliens, right? But like, you know, you go, you fight.
They were like little boogers running around.
They look like boogers. Yeah, they do. And there's an oxygen component. So
which was kind of
there's
fun
that
to manage, yeah.
That was a good idea.
I did like that.
It was a good idea. So we play, like he said, we played the AI first. And so you kind of learn, right? Like, this is what I'm supposed to do. This is how this actually works. And then there's other ships on the map. And then there's abandoned stations and things where you get this loot. Mm-hmm. But there's an artifact hidden somewhere on the map. And you're supposed to scan. There's like probes. You go and you scan all these different things that are in this part of the world. And when you're scanning, when you scan the thing that is carrying the artifact, it'll say artifact on this, right? So the objective is all these teams are on their ship, and they're collecting, they're looting, they're getting the parts for their ship, they're getting the like fuel and stuff. And you're also looking for the artifact. And the first team to find the artifact, extract the artifact, and fly through the wild gate is the winner chicken dinner. And so,
I was gonna say,
but you can attack each other. Yes, but you can attack each other on your ships. Like, your ships are almost like like Sea of Thieves, basically, right?
Yeah,
Like you
it's
attack
Sea of
each
Thieves
other.
in space. That was the part that I was most excited about because I genuinely enjoy Sea of Thieves. I don't get to play it that often, but when I do, I have a fun time. Even if I'm just hopping in solo. The only reason I don't like playing Sea of Thieves solo is because I get a bunch of loot and then you have to sell it all individually. And you're just one person like, all right, let me run back to the ship, then I run back to this guy, then I go back to the ship, then I go back to this guy. Just like, you spend as much time doing this, offloading everything, as you do playing, like, for the rest of the play session.
Yeah.
But I like that component
free.
of the game.
It's a $30 game.
Yeah, welcome
So,
Arcane. And welcome Fark. Thank you guys for stopping by. We're talking Wildgate early impressions.
So when we tried and we got murked by one of the AI ships. Like, we couldn't even do much of the world stuff because the ship found us and it just kept banging us in the face over and over again. Like, our ship was on fire, our ship was all kinds of stuff, right? And then the other problem was we kept hitting the edge of map because your ship doesn't stop unless you actually brake. And DeMarco was the pilot and he never hit the brake before he went off the ship. And I would be on the ship putting fires out and it's like edge of map. And I'm like, did you stop?
Nope.
But it doesn't even show you like where the edge of the map is to turn away from it, which I think is a problem. Anyway.
Yeah. It needed like if you play VR and like when you get to the edge of like VR and it shows like a grid, it's
right?
Like, yeah, they needed something there to show you.
They do. All that aside, that was fun. It was fun. I actually enjoyed that. It showed you like, what you're supposed to do. So then we matched into an all-player game. And it's the first day the game came out. But these people that we played with immediately jumped off the ship and went to, because you can float
through space. You can just go.
Yeah. So they jumped off the ship and they went to this area, and he and I were doing different things. And we were trying to get like parts for the ship and stuff like that. Next thing you know, like I go back to this one place and DeMarco was there with the other two players and they were fighting another team. And so then I realized at that point, they just went and killed all the other teams. They had no F's given about the ship component, about taking care of the ship. They had no care about the artifact thing, because if you kill the other teams, you just automatically win.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a fatal flaw, because instantly somebody's already figured out how to exploit the gameplay loop, so it becomes nothing about what your gameplay loop is supposed to be. It just becomes a fight to the finish thing, which there's plenty of games like that. I don't care about a game like that in this setting anyway.
Yeah, and it sucks too, because there's so many ways that they could have went around that. I mean, the obvious one, I don't think it would have been as fun, but the obvious...
You just respawn. You just need to respawn.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say the obvious one that first comes to mind probably for most people is, well, just don't let anyone attack each other till the artifact comes out. But that, I think, really lowers the stakes, right? Then it's like you're just kind of floating around and everybody's gearing up and it kind of takes away. But the alternative is you just, until the artifact is on somebody's ship, you can respawn somewhere on the map and your ship can come back. And then it would be great. That would be fantastic. And I think it would add a lot more to the experience overall. But the issue where like day one players are running out, if you're not on comms, if people aren't on mic, the big issue that we ran into when we were going up against the AI is, as two people, there is no way that you can output damage if the other ship is fully manned. You can't get away, you can't manage the damage to your ship, you can't repair things. It's impossible until you like do what I did, which is abandon the wheel, go off in a direction and try to do something, and then you're just crashing into everything. And so if you have players on your team that you randomly join with, and they go and they run off to do whatever they want, like ours did, now you're stuck alone on your ship.
Because if your ship explodes, the game over. It's
out.
Game over.
Yeah,
for you.
Yeah. So now you're trying to manage your ship. Your other teammates are off doing God knows what. You're trying to manage every component of it, and it really doesn't work unless you're doing it with a group of 4 people and you have 4 friends you can play it with. So, and I think they needed to have a little bit more. The other thing too is I could see very quickly how that game could get old very fast. Very fast. Now it's a $30 game. So you might think to yourself like, hey, well, listen, it's fine. But that's the only game mode in it, is that extraction. There's no like ship combat mode. There's no PvE only mode. You could go against the AI, but like where you're doing something else besides trying to get the artifact. So there you go. Overall, we only had an hour in the game, so I don't think it's fair to give it a review score.
No, and I think there's room for improvement. Like, I think they could fix those things. But the problem is, it's just really sad because I feel like we see it with so many games now, and this is a perfect case in point where it's a decent game. I mean, it's not game of the year. It's not something you're going to want to play every night, but I would play this, a couple times a month with friends, and I would have a good time with it.
Yeah.
But it's just, there's so many multiplayer games out there. And when $30 isn't a lot, but it's not cheap either. And especially when you're considered as an only multiplayer game.
I was going to say, if with $80 game prices, that's like 80% off right there at this stage.
Yeah, but the problem is that like you were like your point about the need for having communications and stuff like that. You're going to play with your friends. And getting your friends to buy this game and then play at the same time, and everybody actually want to play it, and then there be enough other players still on the server, which is actually the biggest problem, right? Because it's not Battlefield. It's not Call of Duty. It's not a bigger game that's just pretty well known that will always sort of keep pumping along with a player base for you to always have a match to play.
Right.
So, and that's really why we were worried about it more than anything, right? Like, I probably would have kept it if I wasn't concerned about being able to play it consistently 2 years from now or whatever.
Yeah.
Even a year from now, frankly, right? Which is sad.
But that being said, I think the best hope is that the game, I mean, if they're selling it for $30, the game's 8 gigabytes, so it's not that large. The biggest complaint I saw from reviews was that they were, like, very clearly, they just front-loaded all the microtransactions for cosmetic, and it's only cosmetic stuff for microtransactions, but they weren't even that interesting. There's, like, paint your ship blue for $10. People are like, I don't want to pay for blue.
Yeah, there was... Friggin' blue!
Friggin'
blue! It's Anger Joe, if you don't know.
So... Anyway, I do hope, because it was a fun element to it, I do genuinely hope that the studio finds, like, their little pocket of success, and they make back their money, they make some profit, and then they can work on their next game, because I liked it. I did enjoy the concept of it. I thought it was pretty sound, so there you go. Do you want to, what's the next thing? What's the next thing that we did?
We played GTFO.
GTFO, which I missed.
It should be
GTFO.
called HAS, hard as shh.
GTFO is a lot of fun. It's hard for me to speak because that was your first time, so I think you can kind of speak to. I have experience in it, and I've played it before, and I really liked it conceptually. I liked the setting of it. I liked the theme. I liked everything about it. And I like just get it. It's one of those games. So GTFO is kind of like a extraction co-op game, and you're going into these dark depths. You're a prisoner. You're going thousands and thousands of feet below the earth to go try to find a bunch of these artifacts, and then you recover them, and then you gotta get out while you're dealing with tons of monsters. Some of them, they kind of work a little bit like clickers, where they'll just be sitting there, and then you gotta wait, and then they'll go.
They make the sound. They do. Yeah.
And then you gotta stand still while they do that, and if you move, they'll all freak out, and then they'll summon a horde, kind of Left 4 Dead style. But you have tons of ammo and resource management. If you mess up somewhere, you're getting screwed for the rest of the run, and you are gonna die. But overall, it's just really fun, and I think the setting's super cool. But it was your first time playing, so.
It was. First of all, they really got to fix their controller support, because WTF GTFO. It's so bad. Like, they were like, hey, Dom. So, like, I even looked at, like, it said mostly controller support. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So then I look at the controller scheme in-game, like, because there's an in-game controller pad, right? So I look at it, and it's a whole list, right? And, like, normally you could change buttons. It didn't let me change buttons at all. But, like, I'm looking at crouch. It says action 2. Somebody tell me where in God's green earth action 2 is on a controller.
Here.
There is none. Yes. In the mythical world of, it's like in the multiverse, they made a button that was called action 2 that's not actually here. There's no button for crouch. It's all a dirty, filthy lie. And I couldn't map it to any other button. So I was like playing with my controller, and every time we go into a room, I'd be like, wait! And I'd go over to my keyboard, like hit C for crouch, right? Like, it was just that's the problem. But It's really good, and I really like it, and I would play that game more often probably than you guys would. Like, I'd always be like, hey, want to play? But I really like Outlast Trials. The I think why we failed. Like, we tried it like 3 or 4 times.
I failed the tutorial.
And it takes a long time. Yeah, he did. I did not. Okay. Like, it takes a long time to get, we can only do 1 level, right? And so, and I don't quite understand all the stuff, but we were trying to finish this level, and we got to the very end the last time. But, like, here's the pro tip from me playing with DeMarco. You need to play with somebody who plays similarly to you, because DeMarco and I are opposite in like 1,000 different ways, right? Like, I'm like,
works.
Guys,
it just works.
It doesn't though. We died every time.
It just works.
I'm like, let's just go over here and get that. And he's like 2 rooms over, crouched, complaining about how he's clearing this room. I'm like, we didn't need to go there. Why are you there? We didn't need to go there.
I wanted to explore.
And then I walk in and I pick up.
What if there was stuff?
There was, and I picked it up, and then he yelled about it for the entire rest of the night. He kept giving me crap about it.
Okay, for what it's worth, I cleared an entire room. There were tons of enemies. They were all over the place. Hideous monsters. They were disgusting. I cleared all of them. And then you swoop in, and you're like, ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy. With all of the things that give you the stuff.
That was your punishment for going in a room that we didn't need to go into. And you know what? Didn't even matter, because we died because he was too busy doing all that stuff.
That wasn't the reason we died. That wasn't it. We didn't know what to expect from the extraction. They came from all sides. Nobody knew it was our first extraction. Honestly, if anything, I made us more prepared because I explored everywhere.
No, that's not how that worked. It's not how that worked.
I'm just saying.
It's just really not. I appreciate your forethought for yourself, but it's just not. Hi, Game Seeker, and Chris Harris says he has a call for work tonight, so he's only got like 20 minutes. So
Chris, thanks for stopping by. Oh, Chris, I was gonna message this to you on Twitter, but I got it right here. So
I started listening to it. I have it on audiobook.
It is a chunky book, like, and this is just part 1. I think it's 2, not 3. I said in the past, I believe it's 3 books. I think it's going to be 2. But it is a chunky book. I was listening to it in audio. This was actually the last copy at my Barnes & Noble also, which I was very excited about. You have the art. Yeah, you got that. Exodus. I'm very excited for the medical bear. I know people are like, ooh, stupid medical bears that can talk. I'm like, give me more stuff like that in my sci-fi games. I want weird crap like that. But I tried listening to the audiobook first, and when they're saying, like, I don't know, let me just go to the beginning of it where they're like, the Armada fired maneuvering thrusters while Yalbo and the Library of Riders had their examination of the Aluminuta's network from disdainful persona of subcutaneous protocols shifting their features to the superiority of his elevated mentality.
Yes.
And I'm looking at this stuff, and you're just... There's a Rick and Morty clip where they're trying to fix Rick's car, and Morty comes out and he's like, "Oh, is it a problem with the fuselage and carburetor?" And Rick's like, "You can't just stick a car word next to a sci-fi word and have it make sense." And that's what it felt like listening to that book.
Imagine listening to that, because like it's kind of like, if anybody, by the way, Red, one of the main characters name's Finn. So I've been loving that. And I'm like, eh? But I have it on audiobook, and man, it's kind of like, if you've ever read the Bible, Genesis and Exodus. I know everybody here is like, of course I have, right? So especially Exodus and like Leviticus, it's basically just books full of lineage. That's just all it is. This person begat 42 people. This person begat 42, and all those names are listed, right? And that's just like the entire book. And that's how this book starts. And I listened to books, and I'm just like, it wake me up out of the coma later, because I'm like, what did I miss? And I'm like, there's no way I can possibly.
This is, especially on audiobook, it's not actually part of it. It's just like the beginning, but it's like, here's all of the names of all of these people that you have no possible way you're going to remember from all of these different factions and groups. And it's just like, and that was, there's more than the 2 pages I showed. There's one. Oh, and then you just have like the timeline of history that it goes through too, where it's recounting like 20,000 years of history.
I'm thinking about getting the paper book, because I have gotten past that part where the story had started, but like I zoned out so hard that I don't quite know where the story started versus when the lineage stuff stopped. So I'm kind of like, wait, what? You know? So I think it might be a book where I just need to get it in my hands and actually be able to just fall, because listening to it is just not a good idea.
I will say though, there's concepts in, and I'm sure this has been done, I don't read, or even for that matter, I don't watch too much sci-fi. I like space fantasy, so it doesn't really usually bleed into like the hardcore sci-fi stuff, but there's a lot of comments in here that I really, or concepts in here that I really like. For example, it talks about how the Celestials, they like have one of their kid. How far I'm assuming you didn't get too far in it, right?
I'm probably like 3 or 4 chapters in. I don't know what they are there, right? But like, yeah.
So
story has started.
Yeah. So they have this concept where the Celestials, which are humans that are so far evolved from humanity that they don't even consider themselves human anymore, because they're like super far in the future, and humanity got stunted because of how time dilation works. So these humans called Celestials, they basically have a kid that is born for the sole sake of transferring this person's consciousness into the kid. So that way the kid, but they can't remember everything. They have to like pick which memories they want to carry on to that. So that kid is literally just a vessel so that this guy can continue living in a new young body. And I like that type. That's like really twisted and dark and kind of, and the kid is like, "I can't wait, Daddy, please." He's like, "I'm so proud to be your ward." And it's just like, oh my gosh. But I really like that kind of stuff, so I'm excited to read that book. So anyway,
yeah.
Let's jump in. I know we've also been doing. I checked out Before the Dawn, but I haven't gotten too far in it. We also played. What else did we did? Gloomhaven.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We did Gloomhaven.
I want to play that tonight.
I want to do more Gloomhaven. We did some Gloomhaven. Gloomhaven is really cool, the the computer version. I'm sure the tabletop is fun with friends, but I could absolutely understand why it would just be a mess to play on the tabletop version. There's so much going on. And then the other thing we played was Ready or Not.
Ready or Not.
Which is doing very well. It sold, I think, what was it?
$1 million on console.
$1 million on console.
In 4 days.
I was gonna say 4 million. I had 1 million and 4 million in my head, and I got the 4 million because of the 4 days, but it's 1 million in 4 days on console. Your camera's out of focus, by the way. But
Freaking book.
Freaking book. But
Friggin' book.
But Ready or Not, very good game for those hardcore, like, SWAT shooter elements. We didn't win it either, but
We did win some.
That's also my fault too, according to you.
No! Well,
No, well, actually.
well, I carried us through one of the games. He died about halfway through.
That's true, yeah.
And then he watched me clear the entire rest of the thing
Everything.
until the very last person got my ass, right? Yeah. That was really frustrating too, because I'd worked so hard and then they came out of nowhere. And he was like, "This is too easy. This is for babies." When we literally hadn't won any but the first level. This is for babies. He's like, "Let's crank it hard."
That is, yeah. So Ready or Not, you can change the difficulty, which I don't think was in the beta. I played the early access version. I think I just had one difficulty. Maybe they introduced two, but the default difficulty was what the current hard is. So you can take, in normal difficulty in Ready or Not, you can take a lot of punishment. So we bumped it up to hard, and then you could get shot 3 times and that's it. And if one of them's in the head, you're done. Or you get like 1 because you're wearing helmets and stuff like that. So that doesn't sound like DeMarco. He never complains. Thank you, Fark. You know me very well. I never complain about anything. Oh my, it's Holly and DeMarco, the Shiny Podcast. Welcome, Bobby. Shiny. Are you saying we're greasy? Do I look greasy? I'm taking that as greasy. Reflective. Welcome, everybody. Just Dom, Chris, Arcane, Fark, Jeremy. Just Dom, I said already, Chris, and Red Wolf Renegade, and Game Seeker. Welcome, welcome. Thank you all for being here. We're gonna get into, I think, what really... So we've been talking behind the scenes about how we want to try to make this show just be a little bit different from other shows, because I'm all for spending some time. We started a bit late, but I'm all for spending some time to sort of go over, like, spending 15, maybe 20 minutes of the show. Hey, what's been going on, like, just in the news? But I want that to be a very minimal segment. And I think we both were sort of on the same page with that. Rather, spending more time to devote to talking to something, ideally, that is a bit more engaging, that we dive into in a bit more depth, but also that we can have a bit more reactivity with you guys, assuming that you're interested in the topic that we're talking about. So, as you can see from the title of today's show, Wuchang Fallen Feathers recently released. I wanted to bring up the reviews because it's incredibly negative. I don't think it's overwhelmingly negative. I think it's just negative on
Metacritic.
Steam.
The Metacritic's hit it. Oh, well, that's because there's
Mostly
severe
negative on Steam.
issues
Yes.
right now. But the overall is sitting between 70 and 75 on Open and Metacritic.
Which is fine, right? We talk all the time about...
It's an average game.
Yeah, we talk all the time about, why is suddenly a 70 a bad score? But Wuchang Fallen Feathers, if you planned on picking it up on PC... the major issues that it has is the performance was still bad. And this, I think there's a whole conversation that can be had about just the performance of games that have been releasing. And it baffles me. It's a lot of Unreal games. The common thread is Unreal. Everyone says that, well, Unreal's the best looking engine, and it is. It looks gorgeous. But there's a common thread with performance in Unreal Engine games. And...
Stutters.
Stutters.
Stutter stuff, right?
Oh my god, I hate the stutters. Oh my god, I hate
hates
the
stutters.
stutters.
He was freaking out during Ready or Not. He's like, "There's so many stutters." I'm like, "I don't have any stutters." Like, what?
Just makes me want to, like, just punch a hole in my monitor. So, UE5 is a common issue, but it has the thing I think is most frustrating is that a lot of these games now they throw in DLSS and FSR and all these other and frame generation and all these other things that actually make the game look worse when you when you turn them on. But they're almost necessary. It's as though when these games, it feels as though these games are getting developed and they're saying, well, the PC players, they can just turn on DLSS and then they'll get their frame boost. So we don't need to really actually optimize the game. And I want to say that's not what's happening, but it seems more and more common. That's what we're seeing you can't run these games unless you say, all right, I'm going to turn on DLSS to make sure that I actually can run the game at the frame rate that it's supposed to, or one that's steady. Otherwise, you get an incident like Wuchang, where it just doesn't run well, and they're being used, as Arcane said, the DLSS and FSR 100% being used as crutches, so they don't have to properly optimize, and it's very frustrating.
I think that the Unreal Engine 5 thing, this is not our topic actually at all, but
no,
it's an interesting topic, and what I think is really nice is that developers are all like, there's a lot of developers picking UE5 as the way to go for ease of accessibility, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's actually really, really great because it does a few different things. It makes a lot more people a lot more familiar with the same engine. And so then when there are issues, it's easier to ask for help. It's easier to find help, right? Because there's a bigger pool of people who know what to do. Second of all, it makes employees just more marketable across different studios, right? If you lost your job recently, right? If you have a lot of UE5 experience, you have a much easier time finding a different job than if you are in like id tech, right? Like id tech's amazing, it's fantastic, but you know, it's used in a certain place. The negatives about it are that UE5 is really pretty. It is very nice. But I don't think it's like the be all end all of all engines. Right. I actually think Snowdrop is an absolutely fantastic engine. It does really, really great things. For those who don't
know, and I'm not one of those people, but for those who don't know, what games use Snowdrop?
So Snowdrop is owned by Ubisoft, and Snowdrop is primarily used with Massive for the Division games. And the Division games have the absolute best weather cycle in any game, period, full stop. You will never see a better weather cycle than in that game. 100%. I will put money down on it. I think it is the best weather system. And the graphics, I challenge anybody here to go buy. Good. No.
Oh wait, weather systems. Does it count if we're talking about like a Red Dead?
Red Dead's is good. Snowdrop is better.
Okay.
Like, if you haven't played The Division 2, it is cheap as absolute dirt. It's like $7. And it is the best. It's the best shooter game on the market of all time. I don't care, better than Call of Duty or any other things, which is a big statement from me. And it's third person, which Red,
the best shooter of all time. Person.
It is.
You've played Wolfenstein?
Well, I'm talking multiplayer.
Okay. Titanfall 2,
which is fantastic.
Okay,
Division 2 is better.
Division 2. Yeah, I know you really like Division 2.
The Division 2 is 7 years old. And I guarantee if you load that game up now, it looks like it was made yesterday. It is so pretty. And like I said, the weather systems are fantastic. So anyway, now my point is not a promotion for the Division 2, even though you should all own it and go play it because it's great. The real point is that the engine just rocks, man. Like they all have problems, right? And they all have their weaknesses. But to just everybody clamp down on UE5 as the it engine and nobody should use anything else, I feel is like a little.
It's constricting.
It is. It is, and it can cause problems in the future. And
yeah.
Anyway, there's plenty of other good engines out there, but the proprietary thing is also part of the problem too, right?
Yeah.
It would be better if they could open id Tech up and kind of get that out there and allow other people to use it, or Snowdrop, or. But
hell, I am very upset that we don't see more games made on CryEngine. Because I mean,
what was the CryEngine?
Crysis.
Oh, I haven't played Crysis.
Oh, you want to talk about good first-person shooters? I
think I own it. I just haven't played it.
Crysis was the big one. The original Far Cry was actually done with CryEngine. Rise Son of Rome was done with CryEngine. Kingdom Come Deliverance, Hunt Showdown, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
They're beautiful games.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Prey 2017. Prey from Arcane Studios used CryEngine.
Prey is one of the best games ever.
Prey is my favorite Arcane game. CryEngine, I wish would gain some popularity, but I think it goes back to like that skill issue, right? People aren't really trained in it because so few titles use it. So when a studio's like, okay, we're gonna make a game, they're not thinking, well, let's make it on CryEngine. But that does bring us into sort of with Wuchang, Fallen Feathers and their review scores. It does bring us into what our actual topic for today is, which is on the state of games journalism. So xboxera released a review, and they gave the game like a 9.4 out of 10, or a 9 out of 10. And they said that it was fantastic. They really loved it. There's a lot of great things about it. But they had one con listed, which I looked at it today. There's 2 cons now. There's 2 negatives to the game. But they had one con listed, and it was that it is a Gooner game. Gooner approved.
And they took 0.3 off of the score for that con.
It was a 9.7. Yeah, it was a 9.7. They took 0.3. Now they've updated it. Now it says con Gooner approved and con occasional hitches after teleporting for a few seconds. 9.7 out of 10.
Yep. So how do you want to approach just the whole thing? Do you want to start with the fact of the score in general? Oh, yeah. Gooner. Game Seeker needs to know what a Gooner is. So explain what a Gooner is. Or do you want me to do?
I will just say you have access to the internet. It's a great resource to research all kinds of things.
It's NSFW.
including that. So
let's just say, okay, so here's, I guess we should talk about our bias. Let's just talk for a second about our bias or lack of bias first, right?
Sure.
So, because I have a bias, and I need to fully put that out there before we start this conversation. Everybody is allowed to play and do what they want, right? As long as it's legal, I don't care, right? I really don't care. But as much as there is this been arguably, this is an argument, it's not necessarily true depending on what you think, but there has been this extreme criticism of video games making women unappealing, right? For a while. And making them ugly on purpose, etc., etc., etc. I don't know that I believe that, but I do think there's some validity to some of it. There's also overcorrections in the opposite direction. And the most obvious one that everybody would have seen is Eve from Stellar Blade.
Yes. And
now
recent game, Marvel Rivals doesn't shy away from it either. Marvel Rivals.
Neither does First Descendant.
Descendant doesn't. Nope.
Yep. Agreed. And that's fine. Like, totally fine, right? And Wuchang is another one in the list of unrealistic female body types. And there are plenty of male unrealistic body types in video games, let's face it, right? Like,
well, I always want to play as a hunky giant Chad wielding my bro. Like, what am I supposed to do when I boot up Dark Souls and I don't play as a completely disproportionate manly man's?
Wait, who skips leg day every day, but that V is just
yes. How am I supposed to play Dark Souls if that's not what I look like? You can't.
And the funny thing is, as a woman, I typically choose male characters. But when I do choose women characters to play, I want to be, so this is where a lot of discourse comes from in general. And this whole idea of like Gooner versus not Gooner, it's stupid. But there's a particular subset of gamers that want, and forgive me if I offend you, I do not mean to offend you, but the character models like Eve and this character from Wuchang, and maybe the Marvel Rivals character, even though it's slightly different, but sure. I look at those.
Well, they just had their swimsuit update.
Yes, or the first Descendant, right? With little to no clothes, or Eve's jiggle physics, right? Like, I look at those as, yes, give your full face. It's fine. Oh, you didn't tell them about Ready or Not when we found the anime room.
We can listen.
Yeah, we can skip that. So I look at those and I call them blow-up dolls, right? Because nothing about that body is ever natural. It is like the porn edition of women in video games. Doesn't mean they're porn. I'm just saying they're unrealistic. There's some level of surgery to enhance to get to anything anywhere realistic to anything female, right? So that's what I equate, right? Like this is the porn edition of women in video games. And then there are also women who are just really beautiful that are in video games, but they're not the surgically enhanced models, right? Right? So everybody wants attractive models, right? Everybody, I mean, who doesn't want to be an attractive person? Everybody wants to be an attractive person to somebody, whatever your version of attractive is. You want to be attractive to somebody.
Yeah.
Right? So, no. But when I pick a game or I pick a woman character in the game, I don't want to be Eve the blow-up doll. I want to just be a really pretty woman in a game.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Full stop. Right? So the Eve blow-up doll models are for a particular type of gamer. And then there's some people just play the game because the game's good. Right? Yeah. Unfortunately, those people can never just say, I play this game because it's good, because then they're just called...
Yeah. No. So, I mean, you have a good perspective on it because, you know, as a male gamer, those games are geared towards someone like me, right? And I usually don't, just speaking personally, I usually don't enjoy that type of stuff in my games. Like, I have never played a female character when you have a choice between a male. The only time I did, actually, that's not true. The only time I've played a female character in a game was Dragon Age Inquisition, because it was the only way that you could romance Solus, which is like a big story beat in the game to have that experience. Like, that's a huge huge difference in the way that the game plays out. I say huge. It's a difference in the way the game plays out, and you exclusively have to play as a female. So that's the only time I've ever done it. But for someone like yourself, how does it differentiate when you look at something like that, and does it bother you that you need to sort of dissociate and say, okay, well, this game isn't for me, like it's catered to a male audience?
Well, I don't know the psychology behind my decision, but I will never play Stellar Blade.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, and to be fair, and also a caveat, I don't like anime. It is not a thing that I enjoy at all, at all, at all, right? And most Japanese games, even, that are in an anime style, I won't play, period, full stop, right? So it's just not something I'm drawn to. So for me, it's easier to say I don't want to play Stellar Blade because it has an anime-esque adjacent, right? It's not full anime, but it has sort of an art style similar to that. But even if she was just a regular old westernized whatever, right? Like, I wouldn't play it. And I just feel like Stellar Blade went too far because it's one thing that her character model looked like that, but she didn't need to jiggle everywhere and like the cameras and things that happened. And then the nude bodysuits, and you know what I mean? Like, they were going for an audience.
Right.
And that's fine, but I just wouldn't support that. And it's fine that everybody else wants to play it. Go play it.
Yeah, that's
whatever.
the important thing. So Chris in chat, he said, I'll never not play a game because some self-important group of people thinks that makes me part of some group. That's insane. And yeah, that's kind of the point too, right? It's like, it's not a matter of like, I don't think you could necessarily, what you were saying earlier, you can't judge people for playing the game because at its core, they're still good games, right?
I've heard Stellar Blade is actually a really fun game.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So
right.
it's not there. I think there's a big difference between playing, some of the smut games on Steam versus playing a Stellar Blade. There's a massive difference there.
Right. Right.
But again, it's your money and it's your time, and you can do whatever the hell you want. Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, so that's not even the point of like our whole discussion, and we got a little deep into this part. But it does play a little bit of a factor into like why they took the 0.3 off of the score, right?
And so that brings it to sort of the next area of it too, which is where I figured we would focus the most on is just sort of the reality of games journalism. It's been on this downward trend for a while, and I know this is a conversation that has been had multiple times. Once you get past the Jiggles Stellar Cheeks, you could have won Game of the Year. What games journalism is? It's a conversation that I know has been had a lot of times before, but it's really been losing its credibility a lot, and people are turning more and more to content creators in order to get a fix of information, in order to get reliable information. And on the one hand, I think part of it is largely because there's a lot of different avenues to this. I think a huge part of it is because there's a content creator out there that can fit your bubble, right? There's a content out there
there's more than one.
More than one that will fit, like, this is my view of the world, and this is and you can find someone out there who's like, they agree, and let's be honest, a lot of people don't want to be challenged. They don't want their beliefs challenged. They don't want their thoughts challenged. So they're going to go with whoever they can just have a yes echo chamber. So that's why when I have folks, and it's happened before, with some people in chat have said like, oh, I think this, or why do you believe this? Or, they've challenged some of the things that I've said. And I appreciate that. And I'm not going to get mad at you. And I'm not going to ban you from the channel because I think that's a healthy discussion. And it's healthy to be able to say, hey, listen, that's just my take, and we'll go, right?
Yeah.
And then let's play a game later, right? So games journalism, though, there's been a lot of instances, and I wanted to highlight this because it's not just a single incident that's led to this point, and it's not just a single incident, and it's not a single repeating theme either. There's a lot of different lapses that have led to sort of a distrust of media, and where we see something like 0.3 points taken off for the Gooner, and we go, well, this is just another incident that, right? I think 5, 6, 7 years ago, I don't know if people would have made that comment. But I'll end it with this really quick. But you have in 2014 is where it kind of started that people were criticizing and really underlying, hey, what's going on with games journalism? It seems like there is bias. It seems that they're sort of pushing social issues more than actually covering what's important. There's specific cases like Diablo Immortal, where the games journalists and news outlets downplayed the microtransactions in the game. And that was the famous, Diablo Immortal was the famous, what, you guys don't have phones? You guys don't have phones, right? They were trying to get people to play their mobile game. Nobody wanted Diablo Immortal. Nobody was happy with Diablo Immortal. And when it was reviewed, it was some people felt it was downplayed and it wasn't actively reflecting what consumers felt. Last of Us 2 brought up some controversy where, and this has happened in multiple cases too, where those gaming outlets came under fire because they thought that there was the impression that if these outlets weren't being critical of games, that they in turn would not get review codes and they wouldn't get perks and benefits and exclusive takes and all that stuff. People still feel that way. News outlets have tried to strike back, saying, "No, we'll be critical," but I think that underlying assumption still sits. And then there's been instances where we saw with Cuphead is one example, but I know there was another example recently with
Arc Raiders.
Yes, thank you, Arc Raiders, where the people who are reviewing the game were not good at the game. And you're sitting there watching this gameplay, and you're like, do you know what the, like, it's common sense to, this is the up button, like, you know what this, and so we're watching these reviews or these gameplay previews, and it just looks like they have no idea what they're doing, and they should have given it to somebody who has played a first-person shooter at some point in their lives, in the case of Arc Raiders, or third person.
And as a generic gamer, both yourself and my, like, do you know how many times I've sat down and played a game and I'm like, I'm shite at this game, but I can tell it's a really good game, right? Like,
right.
And like, you're a journalist, you should even be able to spot that and discern that separately even quicker, right?
So that, I mean, so there's a lot that led up to this point, and then you had something to say when I started saying, like, now we're fast forward to now, right? All this stuff happened 6, 7, 10 years ago, and sort of built to this point. Now we see something like 0.3 points taken off, and it just sets off that alarm bell. It sets off that affirmation of, we shouldn't, and of course we kind of bucket all these outlets together, right? We pick out our IGNs, but then people look at Rock Paper Shotgun and Kotaku, and I think Game Informer is safe, company. Yeah. Which is owned by the same company.
Yeah. So I was just gonna say, there's just a little bit of history maybe with this review in particular, and it kind of blew up because people were given a really hard time. And to give context, not shade, this is not shade, xboxera, if you watch this, or anybody associated with it, because I know John Clark. No, but just in case, I know John Clark. He is a lovely person. I've met Smeshel Nick, not in person, but I've talked to him. He is a very nice person. Like, this is not, any vitriol to any of them, but just to give context to where this came from with this review in particular, is that xboxera is lucky enough, right? They've got like 30,000-ish followers, I think, on their Twitter, and probably more than that on there. So they're like a legit, they're great, right? Jesse Norris is their prime reviewer because I think he is like the first full-time employee that they have. And please tell me if I'm wrong. Like, I don't know the history of it like you do, Red, or if Assassin's here, but Jesse Norris is their full-time employee. The others do it part-time and as much as they can on the side, right? And so Jesse does the bulk of the reviews. And xboxera is known to err on the side of higher numbered reviews. Then they don't have a large pool like an IGN or a GameSpot, of course, right? They don't have like 25 people that can just go out and review a game at any given time, right? So it's on Jesse all the time. And then some of the others as well. But he does the bulk because he is the full-time employee. So he put out the review. It was a 10 out of 10 minus this 0.3 for the Gunnar approved rating. And when he started, or he or the group, right, started getting some... Bye, Chris.
Chris, thank you for stopping by. It's a pleasure. Always good to see you. I hope you're doing well.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Hi, Chris. When they started getting some pushback, yes, there was a lot of blocking of people. And I think that's an entire conversation on its own. But there was a lot of blocking of people because they didn't like the pushback, is what I'm guessing. And so there's that. And then they did a podcast. They did a live podcast today, and they said, well, we were just joking. Like, get a grip. It was just a joke. Some people take issue with the fact that if it was just a joke, why did you actually take score away?
Because
based on this,
I would say a 9.7 versus a 10. What's the real difference?
Sure. And my point would be, like, I don't care if it took away 0.3, right? Like, you're saying it's basically 10 to you. That's fine. You could have written it, obviously, in a different way if you felt that the aesthetics were unappealing in a certain way or tended to a certain proclivity or whatever. My frustration with something like that is I personally don't think that it was a joke, because you did knock your rating down for something that you felt was an issue, a minor issue, but an issue. But then to pivot and say it was a joke and people need to relax and you should have gotten the joke, in the meantime blocking anybody who said anything semi-negative. I feel like there needs to be more skin. There needs to be a little thicker skin, right? Because when you put yourself out
less
there,
skin. That's the problem. There was too much skin.
Gunnar, any of us, even just us right now, right? We're putting ourselves out there, knowing that there can be feedback, there can be criticism, there could be people who don't like what we're saying. They could say that. Like, all of us who choose to do anything in the public eye are subject to criticism, and we know that.
Right.
So for you to immediately start blocking people for any questions or comments is not, it's not a healthy thing for a media organization. And then my other point would be that it just needs to be a little bit of a thicker skin, and I love you all. And also like, IGN doesn't go through their comments and block anybody who said anything negative about them. They just don't care, right? They leave it alone.
They
like,
can't, right?
They could. They have social media.
They could do anything.
But they don't do that, right? And so if you are trying to build a large audience and build a reputation, you don't block the people who are viewing your stuff, right? You just ignore it and move on with your life. So that would just be my biggest I just don't like I feel I don't know, but I feel like it was a lie, that it was just a joke. And I would rather you either just say, yeah, I stand by it. I said Gunnar Poov, I took 3 points off of it. Deal with it. Cool, right? Or, you know what? You guys are right. My bad. I probably shouldn't have done that. Whoops. Okay, cool. Either way, totally fine. I don't care. I would rather you just own it and move on than to say it was a joke, because I kind of don't think it was a joke. That's my issue.
I think it could have been either way. I think it could have been a joke.
Maybe.
And I think it could have been, and just the response paints it in a bad light. Right?
Yeah.
Now, the question I would have is, the people he was blocking, were they like actively attacking, right? Because there's one thing to sit down and be like, hey, this was a really, like, even if you use, I'm gonna put air quotes around it, but even if you use harsher language and you're like, well, this was, and you could be more imaginative with what some of these words could be replaced with, but you just say, well, this was a really stupid take, and why would you say that, and like, why would you do this? That's very different from going, you're an idiot, this review is idiotic, and you should go like into a corner and wither away and get lost and never return because you're a vile piece of human. There's two complete. So, and we know how gamers can be. Games get delayed and people start attacking developers over it, saying you're horrible, I hate you, go, like, just terrible things. Is that the people that were getting blocked, or was it just somebody saying, hey man, that was really kind of a silly review, I don't agree?
Sure. Yep.
So I don't know if people know that, but that would be my first question. I think the biggest issue though is gaming media. There's a couple people I think can get away with that, like a Ryan McCaffrey, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a few very high profile people who work at your IGNs, at your Kotakus, that can get away with being a little bit more on the nose and like, nah, I'm just messing around, because they have a reputation established as being credible, being trustworthy, being a good source of information, being reliable. And when someone who's smaller, and I don't know who Jesse is. I don't know Jesse. I'm not familiar with Jesse's work. I can't speak to their past work. But when it comes from someone who is lesser known, I think it sets a bad reputation for gaming outlets elsewhere. And that is more of my... And then same with when it comes to like just blocking people and that sensitivity. You said people need thicker skin. That sensitivity makes me think worse on a broader spectrum, not just tied to xboxera.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, there's bigger issues, right? When you get to, like, we could talk about all of the issues, right, that come with the responsibility of being somebody who's fortunate enough to get those review codes and then make those reviews, right? Mm-hmm. And that would be a broad spectrum thing. It has nothing to do with the size of the source or the size of the media outlet. It could be a single person. It could be you, right? It could be a conglomerate like IGN, or it could be a small media group like a Gamers Council or an xboxera, right? Mm-hmm. Like there has to be a level of standard or care when you are one of those fortunate people who have been given access to things.
Fark says, I have no problem with Jesse, but he's blocked a lot of people for the smallest of things. See, that's the history I wouldn't know about Jesse in particular. To this day, the most trashiest game I've played was on Steam called Motherless. I can see how that would be trashy. Was they the same person who made the review for Pokemon and said too much water? That's my biggest issue. When I turn on Pokemon, I can get into it for 15 minutes. And then I see water and I have to turn it off. It grosses me out. Would you try, I think that's what Bobby was asking, but you wouldn't try Wuchang?
It's on Game Pass, so I would maybe try it. I'm a little less interested now. I wasn't super interested before, but I'm a little less interested now. But because of Game Pass, I would probably give it a shot and see. Again, there's a lot of games that like has an aesthetic you just don't like. But if you give it a chance, the gameplay is good enough that you just keep going no matter what, right?
Yeah. I honestly, for what that was Mass Effect for me. Like Mass Effect definitely did that for me, where I loved the setting of it so much, and I was like, I really want to get. And I've said this story before, but it took me 5-6 times where I just kept restarting, and I would get an hour into the game and be like, nope, no idea what's going on. But I just loved the atmosphere of it, and so I kept pushing. Red says, even people who tried to be reasonable, polite, rational, and fair with their criticism got blocked, including me. I tried and got completely ignored. So, right, that's what I was saying. If that's the case, then it's going a little bit too far. And it hurts more than it helps, right? It hurts a lot more, and it doesn't just hurt xboxera, it hurts other outlets. Helps content creators, because when we can sit down and talk about it and people go, hey, this guy's reasonable over here, I like him. You know, that's good for me.
Yeah,
that's good for you.
That's what we do. That's what we do. We gravitate to people who like the same things as we do.
Well.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It just avoids. There's too many games now to spend time on stuff that you're just not.
What are you looking forward to?
What am I looking forward to? Judas.
Is that
in the forever unknown time?
Yeah, that's not this year though.
It was supposed to be 20. It was supposed to be this year.
Not anymore. Well, we know Ken Levine was never going to hit his original date. That's just a given, I think.
That's not the original date.
Oh.
It's been 10 years. He's been working on it for 10 years.
And it's going to be as good as Starfield.
There was...
Because that's how long Starfield took. That's how long Starfield took.
You shut your mouth. You shut your mouth. There is supposed to be a BioShock 4...
Yeah.
Something this summer. And I'll take BioShock 4. Hello.
That'd be fun. Happy Bomb! Just remembered it's Thursday. Welcome. Thank you for stopping by. We're getting towards the end, I think. We're getting towards the end. I'm excited for Battlefield. I did want to bring up really quickly just the Battlefield reveal. Battlefield showed off a trailer today. I hate when games do this. This is my PSA for game studios, of which none of them are watching. Don't release a trailer and then say, here's the trailer, and also check out the actual thing that you want to see in a week from now. I hate it. I hate that so much. It's like when we get to E3, E3 doesn't exist anymore. When you get to Summer Games Fest, and the studios step in, and they're like, oh, here's like the preview. Also, check out we're doing the reveal for the reveal of the game. Because the reveal of the game next week. I hate it so much. Stop doing it. But Battlefield 6, at least aesthetically, looked like Battlefield. It definitely looked like a Battlefield game. I'm very excited for it, and I can't wait to not see people running around as Beavis and Butthead while I'm trying to play a shooter. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited for no Beavis and no Seth Rogen. And no, I just fudge all of that. I'm excited to see more. Next week, we get the full multiplayer reveal of Battlefield 6. So you could find me. And the thing I like about Battlefield 2 is you could get a squad of people. You could get like a whole team of people and then go march on these big maps and just running in with your... You don't care about Battlefield.
Like that? No, okay. I like the idea of Battlefield. I've never liked a campaign in Battlefield. And I've never liked the multiplayer. Did you try
Battlefield 3's campaign?
Hardline?
No, Did you try Hardline?
No, but I played one and I hated it. And I love the World Wars fascinate me, especially the second one. I'm like a super nut for World War history, but that Battlefield, bleh,
one,
meh, yeah.
I loved Battlefield 1.
Was that it? Was that one?
There's Battlefield 1, and then there's Battlefield World War 2. There's a World War 2 one that they came out with, and that one nobody liked. That one was really disdained.
I like Battlefield. That's the thing. It's like I'm like I should like this. This is Call of Duty, but more army based, right? Like I should like this. I just never have.
I think you need to play the right modes.
That's the problem too, is that they just don't come out often enough for.
No, because they take their time and they actually try to make a good game, unlike Call of Duty. So anyway,
you mean like 2042.
Well, we don't talk about the recent ones.
And 22 looked so good. I was so excited for that. I was gonna buy it, and then I saw the reviews coming. I was like, "Oh no, not buying that."
Yeah, a lot of EA greed kind of stepped in with Battlefield, but
It
this is
looks
actually
great.
this one's being led by Vince Campella, and Vince is from Respawn, so a lot of people have excitement for this one in particular because it's going to be the first Battlefield that's Vince, and hopefully because we've had great Titanfall, and I'm assuming there's a lot of concern that EA's just sitting there pulling the strings like, and then the things that are bad about the game are really gonna be EA. Zampella. What did I say? Zampella? Zampella. I said probably something completely wrong. But Zampella, yeah. So anyway, people are excited for that reason. Anyway, yeah, you're playing it wrong. I agree with Red. I think you're playing it wrong.
How? How am I playing it wrong?
You're just doing it wrong.
Okay.
Have you tried? You said Campella. Oh, Zampella. All right. Well, that wasn't too far off. So maybe next week we could have Paris Hilton join.
Potato.
Yeah.
Whatever.
We'll get Paris Hilton to join. And he could tell us about what he thinks of Vance Campella. Anyway, thank you everybody.
He's going to the Battlefield thing next week.
Oh, I'm jealous. I like Paris. Paris is cool. He's fun. It's fun to talk to. Anyway, thank you everybody so much for tuning in this week. Let me know in the comments how you like sort of this format where we're trying to do just a bigger discussion on sort of a topic. I think it's more engaging because you could find 7 other podcasts that go through all the news every week. So there you go. But Holly, thank you so much for joining. And you'll be back next week. And the week after.
I will.
And the week after.
I had a whole bunch of life stuff in July. July has been a terrible month. But it ended today. And I have nothing on my calendar for like forever. So I'm going to be pumping out videos and I'm going to be streaming and I'm going to be here and I don't know what else I'm doing, but I'll be around.
It's more than most. Thank you everybody so much for hanging out in chat. Bobby, Fark, Red, King Styles. I don't think I said hello to you, King Styles, but hello, Happy Bomb for stopping by. Bobby, Arcane, Jeremy, Fuzzy Tomato, Xboxera is going to be excited that someone actually considers them journalists. You should send this to them. Good comment, Fuzzy. They are. Chris as well, Game Seeker, just Dom. Thank you everybody for stopping by. Appreciate having you here. And we will see you all next week. Until then, enjoy.
Thanks, Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby, for ending the show. Oh, is my face covering the alert? That's a bit upsetting. I gotta fix that. That's easy to do, I think. But we'll have to fix it for next week. Thank you, Bobby. What? No.
I didn't know if you were still... Okay.
No, I'm just blabbering. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a good night. And we'll transition. Jonas doesn't come to my stream, so he never can see that I'm using the ending screen now. I miss Jonas.